Hello everyone, my name is Naguura, and today I'm gonna break down how you can guarantee a craft of a 418 itemable profession item. As soon as the raid comes out and Mythic Plus and everything is available, which happens 2 weeks after Dragonflight gets released, then players will have access to primal infusions and concentrated primal infusions, which are the BOP items that allows you to upgrade the profession items all the way up to 418. Now, as soon as that is possible, people of course want to have those 418 items, but if you infuse items with these primal or concentrated primal infusions, it also increases the recipe difficulty of these items, and it's not going to be that easy to guarantee a quality 5 craft. So if you're going to be one of those crafters that crafts these items, then I think you're probably going to be making a lot of gold. So I'm going to break down how it really works and how you can make sure that you're going to be able to craft these items. So there's 5 different steps of qualities with these high item level crafted items. It of course starts with quality 1 and goes all the way to quality 5, and depending on your skill level and depending on the recipe difficulty, you will be crafting different ones. I'm currently on beta servers that are still up, so Dragonflight is already out on live servers, but the beta servers are still up. So if you have beta access and you are a crafter and you want to test these things, then I encourage you to log on to beta if you have access and actually test things out on these NPCs here. But anyway, let's go a little bit into details on how this works. First of all, how is the skill determined? To be able to craft the item on the highest quality, you will be able to match the recipe difficulty in your skill level, right? So currently I have skill 360 and this recipe only requires 280. So I will be guaranteeing a quality 5 craft. But if you add primal infusions and concentrated primal infusions, if you also add stats, because people want certain stats on their items, and people want embellishments as well, then you can see the recipe difficulty of this is already in 360, and I currently don't have a concentrated primal infusion on beta, but it would add 20 more difficulty. So in total, you would need 380 skill to guarantee 418 item, which is a lot of skill. So let's talk about how the skill gets determined. So first of all, your Dragon Owl tailoring in this case gives you 1 skill per point. So if you're level 100, you have 100 skill points. Then your professional equipment can give you a total of 22 skill points. So we're up to 122 skill that you can get through that. Then additionally, you can get skill points through Illustrious Insights, which is a finishing regent that you can add to that certain craft, and it will add 30 skill. So now we're at 152 that you can get through these 3 things. Then, if you provide materials for the item, that one will also give you skill towards that item, depending on the quality of those reagents that you provided. And it will only ever be able to get to a maximum of 25% of the recipe difficulty. So if you look at the recipe difficulty, the base difficulty, the maximum amount of skill you can get from your quality 3 materials is 25% of the base cost. So you can look at the cost of the item that you want to craft, you calculate 25% of it, and then you know, okay, if I provide quality 3 with all of the materials, then that will add X amount of skill to that certain craft. And that is something you have to keep in mind as well. Now the problem is, if you have the best material, if you have 100 out of 100 skill level, if you have the best equipment, and you're still adding an Illustrious Insight, you're still going to be nowhere near the maximum amount of recipe difficulty that you need to craft a guaranteed quality 5 item. So where do you get that additional skill? It's going to be with specializations. So the way that specializations work is that you can actually mouse over exactly what you're going to be getting if you put points into a certain specialization. Now, the problem is that you have to specialize in that certain item to be able to craft it. So, in my opinion, if you're a crafter, like no matter what you do, no matter if you're a jewel crafter, a tailor, or a blacksmith, or whatever, I would look into the things that people probably want to craft, right? For example, if you're a jewel crafter, it is incredibly likely that people want to craft Elemental Lariat, which is a jewel crafting neck with an embellishment already on it that is best in slot for a lot of classes. So you would want to specialize in necklaces because a lot of people want that craft. If you can craft any sort of weapon, I would definitely focus on that because a lot of people also want to have weapons at the very start. Research a little bit and see what kind of items that you want to specialize in. But I'm going to give you an example. So let's say I want to craft this belt here. Let's say this belt is something that everyone wants, and I want to make sure that I can craft this in quality 5. So what I would do is I would go to my specializations, and then I would check here garment crafting, right? Makes a lot of sense. If you mouse over the initial one, it says, improve a tailoring cloth armor to take on the most powerful foes in Dragon Isles, gaining +1 skill per point in this spec. So that means if I put 30 skill points into this, I get +30 skill. Now, additionally, you can mouse over these breakpoints because they give additional things. So if you mouse over this one, you can see +10 skill when crafting cloth armor. So that means we have 30 plus 10. So now we're already at 40 skill level. Then here's nothing. Here's inspiration, it's nothing. Resourcefulness, nothing. All right, so if you put 30 points into this, you get 40 skill towards crafting that belt. Then, since we want to craft a belt, we would have to look for the belt. Here it is. So if I want to maximize my skill towards belts, I would go this direction. So I would put 30 skill into this because it gives me 40 in total. Then I would want to go into embellishments, and then I read this. It says gain +1 skill per point in this specialization. So again, by putting 40 points into this, I get another 40 skill points. So now I have 80 skill points towards that belt already. Then I would mouse over all of these and see if I get additional skill points. Right, here it says +5 skill. So that means I already have 45 towards my belt. Duration, resourcefulness, +5 skill. So now I have 50. So that means if I put 70 points into those two, I have 90 skill towards that belt, in addition to all of the other skill I already have. Then additionally, I will put 10 points into this belt here. And again, it will give you 10 additional skill points. So now we are at 90. Actually, at 100, sorry. We're at 100 skill points. And then I would mouse over these here, and you can see +10 skill when crafting armor for the waist. So now I'm at 110 skill points additionally, only by putting all of these points in here, right? So I have in total 30 plus 40, 70 plus 10 is 80 knowledge that I put into this to get 110 skill in return. Now, most professions have a quote-unquote like generalized specialization at the very start. For example, here it's called tailoring mastery. And for the general profession specialization, you can usually get skill points in the very first initial like bigger talent tree. So for example, in this one, you can see tailoring mastery, improve at the art of tailoring, gaining +1 skill point in this specialization. So by putting 30 points in this, you get an additional 30 skill points towards that belt that we're trying to craft. So now we will be at 110 plus 30, so we will be at 140 skill towards that belt in addition to the one we already have. Then additionally, we mouse over all of the points here, +3 skill when crafting tailoring goods. Tailoring goods is just like any tailoring item, in case you're wondering. So we are now at 143, 145, 48, 150. So now we have 150 increased skill level towards that belt that we're trying to craft. Now, I would recommend to make a spreadsheet and go through all of the specializations that you have, see where you're gaining skill points towards that specific craft you're trying to make, add it all together and see if you can reach that certain amount of skill that you require. Because as you can see on beta here, I have every single thing unlocked, and I still actually have a decently hard time to craft this belt on quality 5 if I put everything on it. Because if you put an improbable infusion on it, it will increase it by +30. Then this will increase it by 25, the recipe difficulty if you want certain stats. And the embellishment that you put on it also increases it by 25. And you can see I can't even craft a quality 5 one right now, even though I have everything unlocked in my specialization and I have 100 out of 100. Now I can still add this illustrious insight, and now we'll be able to craft full quality. But you can see my skill level is 360. And if I would be trying to make this a concentrated permanent infusion, a 418 item, then I would actually be missing 20 skill level to guarantee a quality 5 craft. And the reason why I'm missing 20 is because I don't have all of the profession gear, right? But you can see how difficult this is. And I also don't have the highest quality missive here. But if you have everything unlocked, then you will have the exact amount of skill that you need to guarantee quality 5. So it's very important that you're putting the knowledge into the correct ones, because of course, when the raid comes out, people will not have all of these things unlocked immediately. You will only be able to unlock a certain amount. So you have to calculate how much knowledge you need in total to be able to get your craft on quality 5. I'm going to give you an example for a calculation I made for the jewel crafting necklace. All right, so I calculated here that if I maximize my jewel crafting, I'll get 100 skill through that. Then I calculated that I get 110 skill by spending 90 knowledge within the setting talent tree. Then I get 22 from the maximum equipment. I get 78, which is 25% of the base quality cost by providing 3 quality materials. I get 30 skill from illustrious insight, and I get 40 skill by spending 30 knowledge within the jeweler's toolset mastery. So that will get me 380 total skill, and the recipe requires 380. So I would be able to craft a quality 5 elemental lariat jewel crafter neck with these things. Now this requires me to have 120 knowledge though. I need 120 knowledge as a jewel crafter, and I need to put it into the correct things to be able to craft the neck on 380. Now, depending on what you want to craft, and depending on which profession it is, this will always be different. So I definitely recommend make the spreadsheet, check the specialization, see what you're gaining skill from, go through it and write it all down. Now, keep in mind as well that the quality changes depending on how much skill you have. And I already have a spreadsheet for that as well that I can show you. If the total skill would be 380, which it is for a concentrated primal infusion item, then here you can see the quality difference. If you have 0 skill to 94 skill towards that item, then it will be crafted for 08. If you have, let's say you have 300 skill towards it, then it will be crafted quality 4, and it will be 415. It's always 25% of the total recipe cost to get an increased step, right? So 25% of 380 is 95. So that means for the first 95 skill levels, you craft quality 1. For the next between 95 and 190, you craft 410 quality 2, and so on and so on. So you can take a look at how much you would have to improve your skill level to get the next quality, and so on. All right, so we already talked about how you can get the most knowledge, but what if you cannot? What if you don't have a way to get all of this knowledge unlocked to get a guaranteed craft? What if you want to craft quality 5, but you can only manage to get, let's say, 360 skill out of 380? Well, then what you can do is you can look into inspiration. So inspiration is a stat, gives you a chance to basically craft that item Titan Forge. So it basically increases your skill level for 1 craft. And through the recrafting orders, you can actually do that infinite amount of times as long as you have enough artisan metal and as long as you have enough materials, right? The BOP materials do not get used multiple times. So if somebody is providing a Spark of Ingenuity or a concentrated primal infusion, then you can recraft that item multiple times without those materials being like used up or anything, but you need the artisan metal and the other materials provided. You can just basically recraft the item so many times until you get an inspiration proc, and then you will be able to reach quality 5 with that inspiration proc. But you need to make sure you're checking how much skill you're getting towards the item. For example, here, my inspiration proc for this item would be 113 bonus skill. If I would proc it, because currently I have 220 skill and the recipe difficulty is 225. So if I proc inspiration, I will craft it on quality 3, of course. But if I would only have, let's say, 100 skill and the recipe goes to 225, even with an inspiration proc, I wouldn't be crafting at quality 3, right? So this is something that you have to keep in mind as well. Now, inspiration is usually easier to gain compared to skill with knowledge. If you go over your knowledge or your specializations, you will see at what point you're getting inspiration and at what point you get in skill. Skill is definitely harder to reach because it's like a guaranteed increase in skill level, while inspiration is this rare proc that doesn't happen all the time. But let's say you would need 130 knowledge to get the guaranteed proc and you can't reach that in like a feasible way, then it would also work to maybe only spend, let's say, 80 knowledge towards getting guaranteed skill and then use 10 to 20 knowledge to get inspiration increase, right? Because then you can just recraft the items until you get that quality 5. Because at the very start when a raid comes out, people won't have as much knowledge available to them getting that guaranteed skill. So you can definitely look into try to run an inspiration build where you have a pretty high chance to get the inspiration procs, and additionally you will be able to guarantee the next quality or quality 5 if you get the proc as well. Alright, now that I explained all this, I hope I made it a little bit clearer for you on how this works and how you can guarantee these procs. And now I'm going to tell you some tips and tricks on how you can get knowledge, because obviously knowledge will be the main point for you to be able to get these quality 5 crafts. So of course you want to farm as many recipes as possible, because if you craft recipes for the first time, you will get knowledge. Now there's multiple sources of recipes through renown, through random drops from the world, but also in dungeons. There's a lot of recipes that drop in the raid in the Vault of Incarnates. There's dungeon recipe drops, and some recipes drop in the elemental storms. These elemental storms start when the raid comes out, and it's basically the same thing as during pre-patch of Dragonflight, where you have a symbol on the map, you fly there, there's waves of mobs that spawn, and any of these mobs can probably drop these recipes. So if you want to craft the elemental lariat, the jewel crafting necklace that is best in slot for most people, that one drops on an elemental storm or like a primal storm or whatever they're called. So that is definitely something you would want to look into if you're a jewel crafter. Then one good tip as well is that a lot of these recipes that you're going to be getting require a spark of ingenuity. And we all know that the Spark of Ingenuities are very rare because they're so heavily time-gated. But if you have secondary characters, any sort of alts or characters from other people that are not really there to be played seriously, but rather just like, you know, for fun characters, then what you can do is you can log on those alts and start a private work order with your main crafter for a certain item that requires a spark of ingenuity that is not very needed by other players, right? So let's say there's, I don't know, like some cloth belts or some cloth boots or whatever that no one really would want. Then you can craft that certain item for your alt, because then you get the first craft bonus, right? Because you wouldn't be able to get the first craft bonus without having a spark of ingenuity available. You can also get knowledge by killing rares. There's random drops. They're pretty rare though. Like, you have to kill a lot of rares to get these shards of knowledge. I've seen it very few times, so that is only like the last ditch effort that you could be doing to get knowledge. Then you can get knowledge through dirt piles as well. If you have the Dragonskill Expedition shovels, you can loot those dirt piles and you can have knowledge in there, but it's also a very, very low chance to get it. Then, of course, you want to do all of your weekly Artisan Consortium quests, which give you knowledge. There's one-time chests, 8 in total for each profession. They give 3 knowledge each, 2 in each region of Dragonflight. So those chests you definitely want to go and loot as fast as you can. Of course, they're only one time, but the more knowledge you have early on, the more it's going to help you out later. So definitely pick up those chests. I will be putting a Wowhead article below in the description so you can check all of those chest locations and figure it out. Then there's Profession Master for each profession. If you talk to this Profession Master, you get knowledge as well. And each profession has this Profession Master in a different location. Again, I will post a link in the description below that you can check out to see the location for your profession. Then the Darkmoon Fair has a knowledge gain as well, knowledge quest. So definitely go to the Darkmoon Fair and get your knowledge there as well. Then, if you only miss a little bit of skill, so let's say you want to craft the Elemental Lariat, which costs you 380 skill, but for some reason you only managed to get 378 skill, well then technically speaking you could go Kultiran with your character, because you get +2 skill on all professions as a Kultiran. There's also other races that get skill level, but they are for specific professions. So for example, if you want to get more skill in jewel crafting, you can go Draenei, and then you will get +5 for Draenei for jewel crafting. Then, let's talk about some important recipes that people will definitely want the first week, which is something that you can focus on if you want to make gold and if you want to make sure you can guarantee these quality 5 crafts. So the Elemental Lariat I already talked about is this jewel crafting neck that almost everyone will want. So if you can craft it quality 5, guaranteed, without inspiration procs, then so many people will want that neck from you, and you can ask for a pretty big fee as well. This recipe drops in the Elemental Storms, as I said, in the Primalist Storms, so it's not available yet, but as soon as the rig comes out, it will be available. Then additionally, there's going to be lots of people that want one-hand weapons of any sort, because two-hand weapons actually cost 2 sparks of innovation, and a lot of people will probably only want to craft a single-hand weapon, because that one only costs 1 spark. So they can craft an additional item with their second spark to have a second embellishment available to them. So that is definitely something that you can look into as well. Intellect one-hand weapons, agility one-hand weapons, strength one-hand weapons as well. Then, jewel crafting rings is also something that a decent amount of people would probably want, because if you don't need a weapon, it makes a lot of sense to craft a ring, because it's very unlikely that you will be replacing the ring with other items that you're going to be getting, because you have 2 ring slots. So even if you get a really good ring from the raid, you won't have to replace your jewel crafting ring that you crafted already, right? So I think jewel crafting has quite a few items that people want, and then additionally any sort of weapons, any sort of, I guess, the high stat items is also something that you could look into. Or if you have to consider the set bonuses, then you could also just craft off pieces as well. The engineering bracers are probably also really good to craft for other people, because it includes this tinker socket for the invisibility belt and so on. So look into the things that you can craft, look into what classes want, and then really focus on that specific thing if you want to make the most gold. Or also if you want to craft it for yourself. If you don't want to bother asking other crafters to make items for you, then you can also look into what you would want yourself and focus on that. Yeah, if you have any more questions, ask in the description below. You can also come over to my stream over at twitch.tv/Naguura and ask any questions there. I hope this really helped you out to get a little bit of a better idea for these professions, how to craft those highest quality items, how to get your knowledge and do all of that stuff. I hope it wasn't too confusing, and yeah, thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like these, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.